day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to talk to you a little bit more about the Yucatec Maya of Belize. I am the current Vice President of the Northern Maya Association of Belize, and thanks to Cindy Rivero, who is the Treasurer, for preparing this PowerPoint presentation that we're going to be using up next. So the presentation is going to be done in two parts. The first part, we're going to be talking about who are the Yucatec Maya. So one of the first things we want to establish is who are the Yucatec Maya. The Yucatec Maya can be described as the descendants of the Maya people who populated the Yucatan Peninsula, that is all the way north from the Gulf of Mexico, stretching all the way down south into middle-day, present-day Belize. All that geographical area is where the Yucatec Maya settled. The Yucatec Maya's heritage is a bit different from that of the Mopan and Quechua Maya that are found in Belize. It doesn't differ a lot, but there are some small details, for example, in the language, some terms used, and also in food and other elements of the culture that slightly differ. The Yucatec Maya lived in houses made of pimiento stick and thatched grass as roof, and it was formed in an oval shape. These small little dwellings or houses surrounded the Maya temples that we know today and visit, such as Altunha, Lamanai, Xunantunich, Cerros, to name a few. The Maya, our Maya grandparents' basic staple was corn, and the byproducts, for example, we know about boiled corn, we know about the tortillas, different kind of tortillas. We also know about the atoles, and they also consumed a lot of fruits, the beans, and game meat that they found in the nearby forest. So up until the arrival of the Europeans to the peninsula of Yucatan in the late 15th century, the Yucatec Maya lived uninterrupted in this entire geographical area. Some records talk about the Maya. There is evidence of Maya existence 1500 before Christ. The Spaniards started to arrive in Yucatan around the late 1500s, and in 1502 there was the first contact when Bartolomeo, who is the brother of Christopher Columbus, found a Maya canoe. Now, the Maya cities at that time resisted the Europeans. They resisted their form of ruling, their system of government, and integration into the Spanish Empire. It took the Spanish and other Europeans about 200 years to completely dominate the Maya of the region, the Yucatec Maya, and it was not until 1867 that Martin de Urazua finally defeated the Maya, the Itza Maya, in what is known currently as Petén, which is the most eastern part of Guatemala into western Belize. Until 1847, these atrocities against the Maya people continued at the hands of the Europeans, and this was done with assistance of the Catholic Church at that moment, who perhaps was not the ones doing or causing the atrocities on the Maya people, but remained silent instead of condemning it. The next topic we're going to be exploring is the Social War of Yucatan. In some history books, some refer it to as the Caste War of Yucatan. So what is the Social War or Caste War of Yucatan? A few minutes ago we spoke about the atrocities committed against the Maya people in the hands of the Spaniards, who had the political and economic control of the region. They, along with their children, considered the mestizos of the region, were the ones that dominated when it comes to politics, when it comes to the stores. They were the ones who owned the ranches, they were the ones who owned the sugar mills, the henequen industry. And the Maya were resisting the control that the Spaniards were having in the region. Now, the industries in the region, the major industries in the region at that time was the production of henequen, which was a fiber very much on demand because of the fibers that it produces, and of course sugarcane production. At that time, the Yucatan Congress passed a law which allowed an increase of taxes on land and encroachment of these Spaniards over Maya communal land. The economic condition that this produced forced the Maya to work even harder to pay the taxes. They had to rent the land if they did not own land, and the little land that they had in most cases was being taken over by the Spaniards who needed the land for more sugarcane production, which in turn made the Maya laborers, or in some cases slaves, indebted them to their Spaniards bosses, and their families eventually went into poverty. So this kind of treatment continued for many years, and the Maya leaders got very angry. They got frustrated of the treatment. And so there was a group of Maya rebels who started to sort of talk about going against the Spanish rule, against the Spanish government of Yucatan at that time. And in one occasion, on June of 1847, there was a group of Maya rebels who started to gather supplies in present-day Valladolid, and they started to pack these supplies in a property owned by Jacinto Pat. Now, Santiago Iman, he was a mestizo who in the beginning started to talk about pushing out the Spaniards and having the locals of the peninsula, who at that time were Maya, and their children who were mestizos, take over the economy and the government of Yucatan. So what he did is, now he was on the side of the Spaniards, seeing that the Maya were rebelling, and fearing a revolt from the Maya, he captured one of their leaders, Manuel Antonio I, and executed him, sort of like a threat and to send a message. He also went on to burn down the town of Tepic. He did not only do that, he went on to kill all Maya people in the town of Tepic, to sort of send a message to the other Maya leaders, and that is considered was the beginning of the war. And now the Maya rebels did not just sit and take it like that. In response, Maya leaders Cecilio Chi and Jacinto Pat went on to kill all the non-Maya of the town of Tepic. So you can consider the bloodbath that took place on June of 1847. So the Maya basically started to revolt. They started to conquer one town, one village, one community at a time, and they kept pushing forward all the way up north. They went on conquering the entire region until they finally reached basically the walls of the city of Merida, which they opted not to conquer, but returned to their milpa plantation. So the Social War of Yucatan pushed hundreds and thousands of Yucatec Maya and their children, who were mestizos in some cases, down south across the Rio Hondo into Belize. At that time it was known as British Honduras, under the rule of the British. And that is how the Maya Yucatec arrived in big numbers and settled the northern part of Belize. So this is the first part of the presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. In the next part, we are going to be seeing what happens when the Yucatec Maya arrived in Belize and their integration into a different settlement, into a different government.